Hi YouTube and welcome to my page. I'm Russ Stevens. Now today I'm going to give you a few tips on these wonderful plants. Swiss cheese plants, Monstera Deliciosa, Monstera Thai Constellation and Monstera Albo. The three I've got here are all part of the same family, and two of them are under a year old, and this one here is actually a few years old. Now let's go to my oldest first. Now this is the plain Deliciosa, and recently I had to cut it back because it wasn't getting enough light, and I just felt that we should start again. Now when they're juvenile, you will see that they have smaller leaves without fenestrations. Now fenestrations are where the slits appear, and that is due, and it comes from when they're in the forest. So as they climb the trees, as they climb into that higher canopy, the bottom leaves need light. And if they were full, if the leaves were solid like this, the light wouldn't be able to pierce them. So as they get older, as you can see here, it allows the light to pass through these gaps to hit the lower leaves. And this is why they have fenestrations. So the higher the plant goes, the bigger the leaves, and the bigger the fenestrations and the more. And as this gets older, it will appear to have holes in as well. Okay? Now these plants don't like a lot of water. They like a well-draining soil. My advice is don't put them in a plastic pot. Ceramic is great. Make sure it's not glazed because that's thinning the water in. And with probably a bark to soil to pumice mix. And you can get these from the internet or you can make one yourself. Let me go over to my Albo now. Now there's two plants in here. One is more variegated. I think I'll show you here. As you can see, these leaves. This one stayed quite small. Now I don't really know why this is. I think it's because it's not really photosynthesizing because there's not a lot of green on those leaves there. It could be that it's a smaller version. It came small. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that the leaves will get bigger as the plant matures. Now we have a little new shoot there coming through, so I'm fingers crossed that will happen. On the other side, in the same pot, I've also got the same Albo, but it was a different plant. I bought it from a different source, and as you can see, there's not much variegation in that. As we go down, you can see there is a little bit more there. Now I did cut this plant back because of the variegation. I don't know if you can see here. I cut it back to here, and this shot out. Now the first leaf was very green. The second leaf, as you can see, is a small amount of variegation, and the new leaf looks like it's going to have more. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed there. Talk about when we're cutting off a Monstera. Monstera do not bud from in the corner. So when this plant grows, most plants, they bud from in the corner. This doesn't. It takes the side shoot off in between the node. This is what the node is, and this is where the root comes through, okay? So what we're doing is, if we were going to cut this plant again, we would cut it down here. This would become your root. The new bud would come from here, okay? Not from in the corner. So it's one thing to look out for if you have someone giving you a cutting, or if you're buying, or if you're actually making a cutting for yourself. Just be careful where you cut it. Always cut with a very clean knife or pair of scissors. Now, my last one is my favourite. It's the Thai Constellation. Now this one is very, very young, and as you can see, the leaves are fenestrated. Only one so far. So this plant I've had now for about 6 months. It came with just 3 very small leaves. I got root rot very, very quickly on that plant, and I was very worried I'd lose it, but I've thankfully managed to save it. Now this variegation is actually permanent, so you won't have to worry about it transpiring back to green, okay? This Albo, it will do everything it can to go green. Some of the leaves, if they go pure white, then they're not photosynthesizing and the plant will die in the long run. If that happens, cut it back to a green node and you should be fine. Back to my Thai Constellation over here. I do have these under grow lights. because in the summer my flat is surrounded by a lot of trees, so I don't get the light I want. So they have been under a grow light for about 16 hours a day. They do like a lot of light. And they're called Monsteras because they like to grow. They're going to get big. Put them on a pole, let the roots go, let the air roots get into that pole, and they'll shoot up. They love being cut back. If you've got a room where you've not going to have enough space for it, cut it back, it's fine. To take cuttings, as I said, take it back to the node, pop it in some water or some moss, and you get a plant. When you're watering these plants, if you're like me and you love to overwater, now I really love to water my plants, and I've tried very, very carefully to only water them once a week, twice a week, or maybe even once every 3 weeks. If you're like me, you could always get one of these. Now I bought this off the internet. It is a water meter, and this has 3 settings. This has light, pH, and water. Now I don't use the pH, and I do not use the light. The light for lighting, it doesn't really work. So what you would do is you put these 2 prongs in the soil, like so. Okay, so I put this in the soil, and it tells me that it's actually dry, but I watered this about a week ago, so I'm going to leave it another few days, and then I'll water. As I said before, the Thai Constellation does like to get root rot. So if you're thinking of getting a Thai Constellation, just be careful of that. And just another tip, I would recommend to repot like once a year, once every 2 years. The roots really grow fast. And if you've got a healthy root, they're usually really white. If you find that they're brown, then you've got root rot. Take all that root away, take all those brown roots away and start again. Any questions? Comment below, and please click and follow. Thank you.